Okay, just one quick thing before I start the Sunday Snippet for today, and that is that I'm sorry there was no Harry Potter upload yesterday. I know I said I would be uploading, and I said that I figured out what the problem was. Turns out I wasn't quite as sure. That doesn't sound right? I guess I really didn't know what I was doing. I thought it was disk space, the problem, or file space, and it may have been file space. The problem is, when I record a video on my PC, the video gets stored in multiple places. One in my desktop, and one in the output folder of my recording software, which is isolated from the rest of my files. So I'm not actually sure which one it was, and when I recorded yesterday's episode, I had not emptied the output folder, I just cleaned out my desktop. So it still didn't record. Anyway, I'm going to try and fix that. I need to do a little bit of experimenting this week to see, was it just disk space, or is it something about that game or that part of that game that it won't record? So hopefully I will be able to upload Thursday, but I'm honestly not sure because I've got kind of a busy week. Keeping my fingers crossed. All right, on with the show. Hi guys, the Jazzy Nerd here. And welcome to the first episode of the Sunday Snippet. And actually it's kind of weird right now because I can only see half of my face. My notes are on screen and and they're blocking the other half of my face. But they won't show up in the video, I already tested that. So you won't be seeing, a Word document open on the side here. Anyway, so I was at church earlier. Yeah, big surprise, right? It's Sunday and I'm openly Christian, so of course I was at church. But, today's sermon didn't really apply to me. It was about marriage, and I don't plan on getting married anytime soon. So, my mind just kind of started wandering, and I started thinking about grace, which probably not that outlandish that I was thinking about grace in the middle of church, but I wanted to kind of talk about that in today's episode of the Sunday Snippet. So, first of all, what is grace exactly? Or at least, in a religious context, what is it? And my small group back home in Winston-Salem finished up a discussion on the subject not that long ago, like a couple weeks before school started back up. And the definition we came up with was, quote, unmerited favor, which is a pretty dang good definition. Honestly, I think grace is one of those words where it's just, you instinctively know what it means, but if you're asked to define it, you have no idea. So basically, what unmerited favor means is, you didn't do anything to earn it, and nothing you can do will cause you to lose it. And I've heard a lot of critiques about that. Some people, or at least more than one person who I have talked to, or someone has talked to me about talking to, so they talk to them and then talk to me about that conversation. In more than one of those cases, I've heard of people, or heard from people, who think that it means that you can be a totally rotten person 6 days a week. And then you go to church on Sunday, you ask for forgiveness, and everything is all just fine and dandy. Trust me, you're not earning any points with the man upstairs by doing that. Okay, so I came up with this crazy analogy once. Think of God's grace as the world's best auto insurance. If you're driving along the road of life and get into an accident, fender bender sort of thing, this insurance will pay for the repairs, pay any traffic tickets, even pay the legal fees if necessary, all without raising your rates. So crazy good, right? I got into a pretty bad wreck once, and first of all, my car was in the shop for like 3 weeks, and cost a lot to repair. For the insurance did cover that, but of course they raised my rates afterwards, because that's what insurance does. Anyway, just because you have this fantastic insurance doesn't mean you can drive like an idiot. You still have to make an effort to avoid accidents. Or, well, you should anyway. Some people would probably say, oh, well, if I have insurance that's not going to raise my rates if I have one, why should I avoid them? And, well, if you've never had a wreck, trust me, it's really inconvenient. I didn't have a car for 3 weeks after my wreck. And then, there was just feeling kind of guilty that I had wrecked and that I totaled the other person's car, and the other person happened to be a grandmother with 3 kids in the back seat, and all that stuff. Scrolling down my notes there for a sec. Okay, so in the same way, you can't go through life with the attitude that what happens at church stays at church. There's no value in going to church if the message doesn't leave the building with you. If you leave God and the Bible and all that stuff behind when you leave the building after service, what's the point? Why did you even go? You'd certainly get to sleep later if you didn't. And I'm not saying that not going to church is a bad thing. My dad doesn't, and he's the strongest Christian I know. But, I mean, having that community definitely helps. For a long time after I started college, I wasn't going to church, and I didn't feel as good about myself. I didn't feel as certain about my religion and any of that stuff. And then I found a church near here, and it's like night and day. But again, you don't have to go to church. There's nothing in the Bible about how you have to go to church every Sunday to get to heaven or anything. But anyway, that's pretty much all I have to say on this subject. I hope you guys enjoy, or at least don't hate too much on the first episode of what is probably going to be my most personally meaningful series on the entire channel. I will see you guys on Tuesday. Until then, stay jazzy.